There is a sticker on a dryer in Ohio right now. It's a work order, taped to the top panel by a repair technician who came out on a Tuesday morning in February. It says 4 things. No heat produced. Unit age 11 years. Recommend replacement. And at the bottom, in a box by itself, $24900. Diagnostic fee, non-refundable. That sticker is where this story ends. I want to start there on purpose because I want you to see exactly what the ending looks like before I take you back to the beginning. Back 3 weeks, to the exact afternoon this family's dryer quietly stopped producing heat, and everything that happened between that afternoon and that sticker. Because here is what nobody told them. The part that failed costs somewhere between $8 and $14. It takes about 20 minutes to replace. And the technician who wrote recommend replacement on that sticker was not lying to them. That's the part I need you to sit with for a second, because it's the part that makes this whole situation so much worse than a simple scam. Music. So let's go back. 3 weeks earlier. You load a normal towel and jeans wash. You hit start. The drum turns, you hear the motor humming along, the whole machine sounds exactly like it always has. 45 minutes later, you open the door, and everything is exactly as wet as when you put it in. Cold. Damp. Tumbled but untouched by heat. Your first move is the same as everyone's first move. You run it again. Maybe this time. It comes out just as wet. You check the lint trap because that's the one thing everybody's grandmother taught them to check, and it's clean. You check that the dryer is actually set to a heat cycle and not air fluff, because that has genuinely fooled people before, and no, it's set correctly. The drum spins, the light comes on, the timer counts down. Everything about this machine performs like a dryer except the one job a dryer exists to do. This is where most people do one of 2 things. They either call a repair company or they start pricing a new dryer, because 11 years feels like it might be about that time anyway. Both paths lead to the same place, and both paths are more expensive than they need to be. Let's follow the first path, because it's the one that ends with that sticker. A technician comes out. He's not incompetent. He's not trying to hustle anyone. He plugs in a multimeter, checks a few components, and within about 10 minutes he's found it. A small, cheap, easily replaceable safety part has failed open, cutting power to the heating circuit. He knows exactly what it is. He probably has 3 of them in his van. And then, this is the part that matters. He looks at the age of the machine, glances at the model number, does some quick mental math on how many other things on an 11-year-old dryer might be close to the end of their life, and he tells you the honest, defensible, professionally responsible thing. At this age, with the labor and the part, you're looking at maybe $180 to $220 to fix it properly, and that's assuming nothing else goes next month. A new mid-range dryer is $650 to $900. If it were mine, I'd probably replace it. That is not a lie. That is a reasonable business opinion from someone who gets paid by the hour and who has, quite fairly, priced in his own labor. The problem isn't that he's dishonest. The problem is that the part itself, the actual physical component that failed, is not a $200 part. It's not even a $50 part. It is one of the cheapest, most replaceable safety components in the entire appliance, and it has been designed since the 1960s to be exactly that, a sacrificial part that fails on purpose, so that something much more expensive, like your house, doesn't catch fire instead. I need to tell you about a man named Roland Pruitt before I tell you what that part is. Roland spent 36 years as an appliance repairman in and around Terre Haute, Indiana. He started in 1974, apprenticed under a man who had trained technicians for General Electric's home appliance division, back when GE still inside of the service panel, not a QR code, not a locked customer portal, an actual folded paper diagram taped to the metal, assuming the person doing the repair might just be the homeowner with a screwdriver and a Saturday afternoon. Roland kept a green 3-ring binder his entire career, not digital, not backed up anywhere, just paper, where he wrote down every service call, the brand, the model, the symptom, and the part that actually fixed it. 41 years of that binder. When I talked to people who worked with him, the number that came up again and again wasn't dramatic. It was almost boring. Of every no-heat call he ever ran on an electric dryer, he estimated that somewhere around 70 to 80% of them came down to exactly one of two tiny components: a thermal fuse, or, less often, the cycling thermostat sitting right next to it. Here's what a thermal fuse actually is, and I want to explain this plainly, because this is real thermodynamics, not a trick. Every electric dryer pulls exhaust air across the heating element and pushes it out through a vent to the outside of your house. That system only works if air is actually moving. If the vent gets restricted, lint buildup, a crushed flex hose, a bird's nest in the exterior vent cap, any of it, hot air stops leaving the machine efficiently, and the internal temperature around the heating element starts climbing past what it was ever designed to sit at. Engineers in the 1960s solved this with a beautifully simple piece of fail-safe design: a small metal disc embedded with an alloy that has a precise, fixed melting point, usually right around 240 to 250 degrees Fahrenheit, wired directly into the heating circuit. When the internal temperature crosses that threshold, the alloy melts, the circuit physically breaks, and the heating element loses power immediately. Permanently. It cannot reset itself. That's not a flaw. That's the entire point. It is a one-time sacrifice switch whose entire job is to burn out before your house does. Which means, and I want to say this as directly as I can, when your dryer stops heating, in the majority of cases, it isn't broken. It did its job. Something restricted the airflow, the machine got dangerously hot, and a $12 part gave its life so nothing worse happened. The dryer isn't dying. It's telling you exactly what happened, in the clearest language a machine has. It stopped, on purpose, at a precise temperature, because it got too hot to keep running safely. Music. Now, the part that makes people angry once they understand this, and I think you're allowed to be a little annoyed here. This part is not hidden by conspiracy. Nobody sat in a room and decided to make dryers confusing. But starting in the mid-1970s, after new federal labeling requirements pushed appliance manufacturers to slap "no user serviceable parts inside" warnings across the backs of major appliances, largely a liability response, not a technical one, the culture around appliance repair shifted hard in one generation from "here's the diagram, fix it yourself" to "call a professional, don't open this." The part didn't get harder to replace. The permission did. Roland used to say something that stuck with the people who trained under him. The label didn't change the machine, it changed the customer. The machine had always been just as fixable. What changed was that an entire generation stopped believing they were allowed to look inside it. If you've stayed with me this long, you already know where this is going, and I'm not going to make you wait any longer for it. You've earned the actual repair. But I do want to ask you for one thing before we get into it, and it costs you nothing but 10 seconds. Tell me in the comments your dryer's brand, roughly how old it is, and what a shop quoted you if you've ever had this happen. I'm not asking because I need the engagement. I'm building an actual reference list in the comments of this channel, brand by brand, so the next person searching "dryer won't heat" at 11 p.m. can see real numbers. Here is the procedure. Unplug the dryer completely. For an electric dryer, this usually means pulling the 240-volt plug from the wall, not just hitting a power button, because you'll be working near a live circuit path otherwise. Pull the dryer away from the wall enough to access the back panel, which is typically held on with 6 to 8 quarter-inch or 5 16-inch hex head screws around the perimeter. Once the back panel is off, you're looking at the blower housing and, mounted directly on or near the heating element assembly, a small rectangular part with 2 spade terminal wires running into it. That's your thermal fuse. On most electric models, it sits on the blower housing itself or on the heater box. On gas models, it's usually in the same general area, near where the burner assembly meets the duct. Pull the 2 wire connectors off and use a multimeter set to continuity or resistance mode. Touch a probe to each terminal on the fuse. A working fuse should read as a closed circuit, continuous, near zero resistance. If it reads open, infinite resistance, no continuity at all. That's your failed part. Confirmed, no guessing. The replacement part itself is sold under your specific model number. Every manufacturer uses a slightly different physical fuse, so you do need to match it, not just grab a thermal fuse generically, but across nearly every major brand. That part runs somewhere between $8 and $14. It snaps or screws into the same mounting bracket the old one came out of. You reconnect the two spade terminals, screw the back panel on, and you're done. 20 minutes, start to finish, most of which is unscrewing and rescrewing 8 screws. But, and this is the honest, unglamorous part, because I'm not going to sell you a fix that doesn't hold. Replacing the fuse without addressing why it blew is just delaying the exact same repair by a few months. If your vent run is restricted, that new fuse will hit the same temperature and fail the same way. So before you close the panel back up, disconnect the exhaust duct at the back of the dryer and check it for lint buildup. And if you can, go outside and check that the exterior vent cap flap actually opens freely when you run the dryer. A full, unrestricted vent path is what keeps a $12 part from becoming a $12 every 6 months part. I also want to be direct about what this does not fix. If your heating element itself has physically burned through, which you'll usually see as a visibly broken or discolored coil when you pull it, and which is a separate, roughly $40 to $70 part. The thermal fuse test alone won't catch that. You may need to check both. If you have a gas dryer and the igniter or gas valve has failed, that's an entirely different repair with its own safety considerations, and I'd point you toward a technician for that specific piece, particularly around the gas valve. And if your dryer is throwing an electronic control board error code alongside no heat, on some newer models the board itself can be the actual failure. The fuse test still matters as your first, cheapest check, but it isn't guaranteed to be the whole story on every unit built in the last few years. Music. Here's the honest math at the end. The service call that produced that sticker in Ohio, $249, plus a quoted $180 to $220 in additional repair, plus the very reasonable suggestion to just buy new at $650 to $900. Total realistic spend, if that family had gone the replacement route, somewhere north of $700. The actual failure, a $12 part, a $6 vent cleaning kit if the duct needed it, and 20 minutes with a screwdriver and a multimeter you can buy for $15 if you don't already own one. Call it $33, worst case, to solve the exact same problem the shop wanted $700 for. I want to end where I started this video, with that sticker. I don't think the technician who wrote it was dishonest. I think he gave an honest quote for honest labor on an honestly aging machine. But recommend replacement and this is unfixable are two very different sentences, and only one